Coming up on Arirang News, South Korea gives an update on its vaccination plans. 44 million people to get the shots starting in February or March, aiming for completion by November. The government announces tax breaks for the new year to encourage people to spend more money and boost consumption, lower taxes on cars, and billions of dollars in coupons. And South Korean football star Heung-min wins FIFA's award for the year's best goal, which he scored last December, dribbling 70 meters past half a dozen defenders. It's 5 p.m. here in Seoul. Thanks for tuning in to Arirang News. I'm Devin Whiting. The South Korean health authorities continue to sign deals to secure COVID-19 vaccines. Today, they gave their second update on these plans. They still aim to start administering vaccines by February or March, but they say now that the process will be done with the immunization of 70 to 80% of the population, and this should be done by next November. Kim Do-yeon has the details.
South Korea is inching closer to securing additional supplies of COVID-19 vaccines. On Friday, the government shared its procurement process and reiterated its plans to have 44 million people vaccinated.
We have already signed a purchase deal with AstraZeneca, and we will complete the contract with Janssen as early as next week. Pfizer is currently under review.
Doses from AstraZeneca are to start being rolled out in the first quarter of next year. SK Bioscience will produce the vaccines for AstraZeneca in Korea, and the country will use these for the shots. The time frame for receiving vaccines from other companies is yet to be revealed, as non-disclosure agreements with the drug makers prohibit the government from sharing details of the negotiation process. Enough vaccines for 10 million people from the COVAX facility are expected to arrive early next year as well. Plans will be clearer when representatives from the government and the COVAX facility speak next week to finalize the plans. All in all, the government said that the goal is to achieve mass immunization of about 70 to 80% of the population inoculated before the next flu season, which is normally November.
We are in negotiations with drug makers other than the ones we've mentioned. We are also trying to get the doses sooner.
As for the domestically developed COVID-19 vaccines, the government revealed that SK Bioscience requested first and second clinical trials last October. According to the current plans, the trials should be completed by the end of next year. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
In other news, U.S. politicians and international human rights activists have expressed concern over a law passed in South Korea earlier this week that bans people from sending anti-North Korea leaflets over the DMZ into the north. The South Korean government was quick to defend the law, saying that sending the leaflets endangers the lives of people in the South. Heungmin reports.
U.S. Deputy Secretary of State Stephen Biegun has reportedly expressed concern over South Korea's law to ban the practice of floating balloons with anti-regime leaflets into North Korea. An article by the Washington Post said Biegun privately conveyed the Trump administration's concerns about the legislation during his trip to Seoul last week. The law, which was passed at the National Assembly early this week, stipulates punishing those who send the leaflets with up to 3 years in prison or a fine of up to $27,000. The VOA reported Friday that the bipartisan Tom Lantos Human Rights Commission at the U.S. Congress is going to convene a hearing on the issue when the new session begins in January. And this week, UN Special Rapporteur Thomas Ojea Quintana said he hopes Seoul reconsiders the legislation before it goes into effect, citing freedom of expression. Seoul's Unification Ministry was quick to respond to the UN Rapporteur's remarks, saying the law was amended through a democratic procedure at the National Assembly that represents the consensus of public opinion. On Thursday, Seoul's Foreign Minister Kang Kyung-hwa said in an interview with CNN that freedom of expression can be limited if it poses a threat to people's lives, citing the UN International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. She added that the leaflets are being sent from a very sensitive area where South Korean people live near the border. Yoon-jung-min, Arirang News.
This month's Green Book report from the Finance Ministry shows a rebound in South Korea's exports, but domestically things are still touch and go. Exports in October were up 4.1% compared to the same month last year, But with the resurgence of COVID-19 domestically, production in manufacturing was down 2.2% on year. And there was a decline in retail sales and facility investment, both from the year before and the month before. The South Korean government has announced a wide range of tax breaks in the new year to get people spending money again and to revive the economy. Ji-young has the details.
The South Korean government is forecasting the local economy this year to shrink by about 1%, but Finance Minister Heung-min said Thursday that next year it'll grow by 3.2%.
To achieve this projected growth, we have to overcome the crisis quickly, and we have to strengthen the momentum of our economic recovery.
Next year, the government will maintain its expansionary fiscal policy aimed at stimulating the economy with a record-breaking budget worth more than $510 billion. That's about 9% bigger than this year's budget. The spending plan aims to stop COVID-19 and also provides incentives for people to spend more money and boost consumption. People who spend at least 5% more on their credit cards next year than they did this year can deduct up to $900 more on their taxes. Those who buy a car in the first half of 2021 will get 30% off their consumption tax, also up to about $900. And a series of retail events will offer bargains on a wide range of products. To distribute the consumption boost throughout the country, the government plans to issue more than $16 billion worth of coupons, or local currencies as it calls them, that can only be spent in certain regions. Those will mainly be for food delivery apps. The government is also considering a 30% tax cut on long-term capital gains. The government plans to create a little over 1 million jobs for people in socially vulnerable groups, half of them to start in January. Ji-young, Arirang News.
Time now for an in-depth look at the market news this afternoon, and for that I'm joined on the line by Mr. Daniel Yu, Global Strategist at Yuanta Securities. Mr. Yu, good to have you back on.
Good afternoon.
Stocks on Wall Street saw gains overnight, it seems on anticipation of new stimulus, and despite worsening jobs numbers in the U.S., all three main indices marking new all-time highs. What's the story in the global markets?
Yes, in terms of the overall labor market, it seems to be quite weak still. The number of American filing for unemployment benefits actually increased to 885,000 in the week ended December 12th. From the previous revised level of 862,000, and it is well above market expectation of 800,000. Clearly, COVID-19 cases are definitely affecting negatively for the economic recovery for the time being, and continuously the jobless claims seems to be remaining fairly high. Despite all this uncertainty about the labor market, as you said, the Wall Street has gone up to break the records again. If you look at the overall Dow Jones, it added about 0.5%, and S&P 500 climbed by 0.6%, and NASDAQ jumped by 0.8%, and the small and mid-cap stocks were up more than 1%. Clearly, people are expecting that economic recovery will be coming through as the vaccines are expected to come through, as well as on the policy side, congressional leaders on Wednesday closed in on about $900 billion stimulus package that would include direct payment to the individuals, and also Fed pledged to continue to buy the bonds until the economic recovery is completed. And if you look at the overall the bond buying, it has reached $3.2 trillion ever since the COVID-19, and that is 2.5 times bigger than the financial crisis in 2008. So continued injection of liquidity is happening, and also we are expecting the fiscal budget to go through, stimulus package to go through, and if that's the case, then the U.S. market would continue to show record high in the future for next few months.
Well, it was a bit up and down today on the Korean markets, but the Kosdaq and the Kospi both closing higher. Institutions and foreigners keep selling, but retail investors are still buying. What's driving the trade here in Seoul?
Quite interestingly, if you look at the overall market, it actually gone up slightly again. But in terms of the which sector has gone up, it seems to be fairly limited. All the major sectors, such as the IT sector and various other leading companies, didn't show a rising trend today. But nevertheless, the markets were moving up slightly because of the utility sector moving up, and also Tesla-related the automobile sectors were doing quite well today. If you look at the overall net buying, foreigners will continue net seller today, and also institutions were net seller, while domestic retailers are continue to be a buyer, and they bought about 390 billion won worth of Korean equities. Looking into the future, we think that the Kospi should continue to do well because we're looking at over 20% growth rate in terms of the earnings for 2021. And if that continues, then the Kospi as well as Kosdaq has room to rise by at least two-digit number. And we do expect Kospi to hit 3,200 or more, and also Kosdaq hitting about 1070 or more basis on our residual income model. Overall economic conditions seems to be will be doing better as the export numbers will continue to come through better. And even though we are concerned about the COVID-19 cases in Korea, we think that export and global economic recovery would have bigger implications than the COVID-19 in the future.
Well, now in November, we see the foreign currency deposits at banks in Korea rose to another new high. Deposits in Chinese yuan and euros were up. Dollars declined, though. What do you make of this, Mr. Yu?
Yes, as you said, South Korea's foreign currency deposit hit a record highest number due to the solid demand for the safe assets caused by the COVID-19 resurgence. And these data are released by Bank of Korea, and the number seems to be about $93.61 billion US dollars at the end of November, which is up by about 0.29 billion up from the previous month. The deposit refers to the one owned by local resident. Clearly, the retailers are continued buyer of the foreign currency assets, and it seems that that's happening not just on deposit but also on equity side as well. We think that domestic Korean retailers will continue to buy U.S. denominated, dollar-denominated deposits as the uncertainty on the COVID-19 continues, and that Korea is very highly budget surpluses and also trade surplus country, and we think that that would result into continued net purchase of the foreign direct deposits or foreign denominated deposits, especially in dollars. The overall trend seems to be continuing, and that resulting into actually Korean won and U.S. dollars no longer Korean won appreciating, despite the dollar seems to be weak in a global scale. We think that the overall won to U.S. dollar rate should remain where it is, which is around 1090 territories.
Got it. All right,
Sorry,
Mr. Yu.
1090. Sorry. Yep.
Right. We'll have to leave it there for today, though. Mr. Yu, thanks so much for sharing your insights today. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
South Korean football star Heung-min has won a prestigious award from FIFA, football's global governing body, for an astonishing goal he scored in the English Premier League late last year. Han Sung-woo reports.
It's official. Tottenham Hotspur's Heung-min has been recognized by FIFA for scoring the best goal anywhere in the world between July 20th, 2019 and October 7th, 2020. At the Best FIFA Football Awards 2020, held virtually in Zurich on Thursday, the South Korean forward won the FIFA Puskas Award for his 70-meter dribble wonder goal against Burnley in the English Premier League last December. A goal for which he previously won the EPL's Goal of the 2019-2020 season.
First of all, thank you very much. It's an incredible feeling. Score this goal and it's already so beautiful. And being shortlisted is also a big honor for me. But win this award, this means a lot for me. And what should I say? I'm really, really grateful for everyone who supported me. And yeah, thank you so much.
FIFA's official website described Son's goal as one that, quote, showcased everything that has led Tottenham Hotspur fans to fall in love with their Korea Republic star, with pace, power, persistence, and clinical finishing all on show. Named after the legendary Hungarian striker Ferenc Puskas, the award has been given every year since 2009 to the most aesthetically significant goal. Son is the first South Korean and second Asian footballer to claim the honor. Global superstars Cristiano Ronaldo, Zlatan Ibrahimovic, and Neymar are among past winners of the award. Meanwhile, the best men's and women's player trophies went to Bayern Munich striker Robert Lewandowski and Manchester City WFC's right back Lucy Bronze. The latest honor comes as Son is currently in the mix for the EPL Golden Boot, awarded to the top scorer of the season. With 11 goals under his belt, he's on level footing with Liverpool's Mohamed Salah and Everton's Dominic Calvert-Lewin. 한성우, Arirang News.
And that does it for this newscast. Thank you for watching.